Mark Taylor, congratulations. You're Spotsylvania County's new superintendent. So what's next in this process?
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Sierra, and thank you for the opportunity to talk. Next in the process is notice to my existing employer, Greene County Local Government. I have 30 days notice with them. And so I should be commencing work in Spotsylvania on November 1st.
The Virginia Board of Education had to approve your superintendent's license because you don't have a professional background in education. But what makes you think you're qualified?
Sierra, first of all, the State Board of Education approves everyone's superintendent's license.
They had to do a little extra though for you.
Well, mine's different. I was under option 4. I am not the only, and option 4 is referred to sometimes as a non-traditional licensure. I am not the only, to my knowledge, not the only non-traditional licensee in the state. It is more conventional or traditional to come through the system and to have one of the first 3 options as the basis for one's licensure. But it's certainly not unprecedented. It's certainly allowed under the regulations, and I've certainly met all of the requirements.
What makes you believe you're qualified?
My experience in local government, serving elected local bodies for more than 30 years, about half of that experience has been in Spotsylvania County, and most of that experience has been with deeply divided boards. The skill set for leadership of an organization of the size of the school division is very different than the skill set needed for classroom instruction or various other functions at lower levels, different levels in the school division. The big challenges for the school division at the executive level, at the superintendent level, are really challenges of leadership for the organization as a whole. I think I have very good and useful experience in Virginia, in Spotsylvania, and in dealing with deeply divided elected bodies. And I look forward to serving the school board. I want to serve the whole school board. I'm very aware that only 4 of the 7 voted for my contract, and I want to be clear that that's immaterial to me. My job is to be the servant of the whole board, and that's what I intend to do.
What's your relationship like with School Board Chair Kirk Twigg?
First of all, let me say that I think my relationship with all of the members of the school board is cordial and tolerably friendly. We got along very, very well in the interview process. It happens that my family, particularly my wife, has known Mrs. Twigg for quite a number of years, and the 2 couples have known each other over years. Mrs. Twigg ran one of the most successful children's ministries in a church in Spotsylvania County. It happens to be called Grace Church of Fredericksburg. And my wife was setting up a children's ministry for a small church plant that we were attending in South Stafford years ago. And Mrs. Twigg helped my wife, was extraordinarily helpful to her in setting up the children's ministry at the church. So we really got to know each other, Mr. Twigg and I, through the rapport between our 2 wives.
Do you think it's a conflict of interest that you're friends with School Board Chair Kirk Twigg?
It's certainly not. And indeed, so I did serve as a volunteer on the board of Kathy Twigg's small nonprofit organization, Emerging Stars. Emerging Stars provides low-cost and no-cost enrichment programs for special needs young people who have aged out of the special needs services that are available through the school division. It's an unpaid position. I've never had any financial stake in Emerging Stars. It was always as a volunteer. It's not a conflict of interest, never has been.
You homeschooled your children, which is concerning to parents who don't think you're fit for this position, but why do you want this role?
I think that, first of all, the challenges in education for the next generation are evident for all parents, regardless of what choices the parents have made for the education of their own children. Certainly the home education experience with my own children was very illuminating in terms of the challenges to education and generally. I'm interested in this role because I have seen in the last few years, with some concern, issues in public education, particularly in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And I think it's true across the Commonwealth that since 2017, one of the strategies for improving proficiency under the SOLs has been to simply lower the score required to achieve proficiency on the test. That to me is not a winning strategy. I think it's also well documented that the anxiety and uncertainty among young people in both inside of public education and outside of public education is at an all-time high. And I'm very concerned about what we're mentoring and modeling for students in public education. My season as an educator at home is past, and to be clear, I was working a full-time job. My wife carried most of that load of home education, but it was an enterprise that we undertook together, and we undertook it leaning first on materials from public education. We got the program of study K-12 from the Fairfax County Public Schools. That's where we lived at the time we made the decision to home educate. So that decision wasn't a rejection of the Spotsylvania schools. It was a decision made in the context of much larger school division up in Fairfax County. And it was an individual choice for a family. Now, I believe that every family ought to have the right and the opportunity to make and exercise that choice. I believe that public education is absolutely essential. It's certainly a right in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and I think that public education needs to be the very best because we are all relying on the next generation coming along to excel in order to continue and perpetuate the success of our society and the success of our future. We're all interested, or should be interested, in the quality of public education and the excellence of public education. And I'm, at this season in my life, very interested in doing my very best to help it forward because I am concerned about the anxiety. I am concerned about performance issues. I am concerned about the findings that Virginia is seeing about the performance of public education. I don't say that critically, I say it hopefully. I want to help it be better. I have brought improvement to every organization I have served in my professional career. I want to bring improvement here. The people that are saying that I will tear down public education, they're simply wrong. That's not what I'm about at all. I am about data-driven, rational decision-making that brings improvement. I want to make it better.
Why did you homeschool your kids? Do you have anything against public education?
Not at all. Absolutely not at all. Please understand, our first child is in her 30s. These are decisions that were made long ago. And particularly the initial decision to homeschool, and once we had a first child homeschooling, the others followed simply because that was the habit and norm of the family. With the exception that my youngest daughter did spend her last 2 years of high school in the public school system. Now, all of my children are unique individuals. They have all been very high performing in different ways, and they have all gotten academic scholarships to college. I'm very aware that the public school system also has very good statistics for such achievement. I am proud of that for our community, and I want to continue and I want to improve that.
Your daughter says you're transphobic and homophobic. Are you?
Absolutely not.
Have you ever made inappropriate jokes about the LGBTQ community?
So let me be very clear in the context of my daughter. This is my third daughter.
Who says she's bisexual?
Who spent 2 years in public education and who went to college on an academic scholarship and who finished her undergraduate degree in 3 years rather than 4. So I really don't understand her criticisms of her home education because she certainly excelled following that. And when she came to the end of her college career, she announced to our family, she didn't communicate this to me personally, but she announced to our family that she was pansexual or multigender interested, that she was moving out, and that she never wished to speak to us again.
So the decision not to speak to each other, is it because of her sexuality?
Sarah, excuse me. No.
That's what she claims.
Well, and I am telling you what happened. She announced to her brother, not even to me directly, she announced to her brother that she was no longer speaking to us. Now, and that was her adult choice, and I have respected that choice. I did not get mad at her. I did not get upset with her. She moved her belongings out of our home. She left in the car that I purchased for her. She took with her a $5,000 cash gift I gave her for finishing college early because I was very proud of her. I did not argue with her. I respected her adult choices, and she left. I have undertaken to communicate with her since in cordial and affable ways. For example, this July 2nd, I sent her a message, a text, because I had heard, she didn't tell me, but I heard secondhand that she was engaged. And I said, I just heard that you are engaged. I trust that is a happy development in your life, and I am happy for you. So does that sound angry to you?
Do you support the LGBTQ community? Does it sound angry
to you?
Do you support the LGBTQ community?
I support the adult choices of my daughter. I support the adult choices of the LGBTQ community. I have concerns about the mentoring and modeling that we bring to young people in public education, whether that has to do with, regardless of what subject that has to do with, that is not concerned with their academic development, their education, and their readiness for higher education, career, or other options in life. I believe that there are some issues that are properly the domain of family, and that particularly in younger children should be addressed by family, and by family far more than by anyone's education system, public, private, or otherwise. But understand, I am not the school board. I am the servant of the school board as a superintendent. My agenda, if I had one, doesn't count. My function is to serve the group, and my desire on these issues is to promote useful, positive conversations about choices that the community needs to speak into, that parents need to speak into, and that the school division needs to hear and respond to in meaningful, customer service-oriented ways.
So you're saying you're open-minded to hearing the voices of the LGBTQ community?
Absolutely, and I ask them to be open-minded to hear mine. I have expressed no hate to them, but from what I have heard secondhand and caught in the media, there's certainly plenty of hate being expressed to me. Well, if these people are all about being inclusive and open-minded, then where is my turn?
There are racist comments circling around from your Facebook page. Parents say this is concerning. Do you condone that type of behavior?
No, I don't. Absolutely not. I'm not entirely sure what communications they are pointing at.
Why is it on your Facebook page?
Frankly, I don't know.
How did it get there if it's on your page?
I also don't. I don't know even the specific posts that we're talking about. I know that my identity has been stolen 3 times.
So you think it was someone else who
I don't know. Sarah, I don't. I know that that entire discussion is a needless distraction, which is why I started a Facebook page so that I could keep up with my kids more than 20 years ago. I don't remember most of whatever was on there back in the day. It's all gone now. And it frankly needs to be irrelevant, okay?
Your daughter says you're racist, as well as other parents in the community think the same thing after seeing those posts, are you?
No, ma'am, absolutely not. And in fact, if you look at, I want to say that I have consistently managed people and conducted my public life on the basis of merit and with a deep-seated belief in opportunity for all. For all. And that is really and truly what I am about.
So aside from the controversial stuff, you are going to be Spotsylvania County Superintendent. So what's the first thing you plan to do? Do you have a vision, goal, plan in mind? I know you said you are the servant and want to listen to what the school board has to say, but what would you like to see?
Absolutely, Sheriff. So first conversation I want to have is with the Spotsylvania County Sheriff, Roger Harris, because school safety has got to be a first concern, particularly in today's world. That's a sad, but I think very true observation. And I want the community to know that the safety I'm concerned about is for the students, for the teachers, for all of the staff, including the administrative staff, and up to and through the school board as well. And that the threats that need to be evaluated and concerned are not just with bullets, but also with words and with other instruments of hate that get thrown about, I think, far too carelessly. So there needs to be, I want to have a serious conversation with the sheriff about making sure that our school system at all levels will be safe for the benefit of all. I am desperately committed to that, and that's got to be top priority. Another priority is with the maintenance and with the programming for capital facilities. Those are enormous costs. They have gotten very much out of control in recent years with the changes in the economy.
Really quick, you can continue. I'm just,
and I think
this is falling.
We need to reevaluate and perhaps reprioritize capital needs in light of the very different cost and interest rate climate that we are finding ourselves in this economy that has suffered so and seems to be continuing to suffer. Then I think there is also a lot of room and need for discussion about the performance with regard to special needs and the sufficiency of funding for special needs and resourcing for special needs. Then I also have a priority for looking at, and it's all, this isn't this, for some minds this should have been the first thing I said, but I believe that school safety is the most important, and I know there is already a plan in place and started for what's called modernization of compensation for the instructional staff and for others on the staff of the schools. That was begun. There's been very little attention paid to this because it's been a very divisive spring with this superintendent selection process.
It has.
But the truth, the new majority on the school board has had great success in getting more money for pay, particularly for instructional staff, for the school division than the division has seen in 6 or 8 years. Now we want to continue that. There are people try to characterize me, yes, and as to some social issues, I am conservative. As to fiscal issues, I would like to say that I am a realist. We have to look at the truth of the real cost that we need to pay and should want to pay to provide good public education for our children. And so, yes, we want to spend money responsibly. Yes, we always want to remember that somewhere at some level, it's always a taxpayer that's funding it. Whether it's federal money, state money, or local money, it's all tax money. And I treat every dime as if it's my own. I want to be careful with it. But I also want to be realistic. We must meet the legitimate needs and meet the funding requirements to provide good public education for the Spotsylvania community. Absolutely.
Well, just last question. For those who say you don't deserve this role because you lack the educational experience, what's your response?
My response to that is that, I think it is fair to say, really in the last 5 years, if not 10, that the conventional approach to leadership in public education has produced results that are in some ways concerning. I talked about the SOLs. I talked about the anxiety and uncertainty amongst, why should that be? And how is it that we are producing generations of young people that have such problems? Those are results that the conventional approach has achieved. So how about we try an unconventional approach just for a bit and see what it can do? Because if you look back at my history, I've been serving communities for more than 30 years. Everywhere I have been, I have produced improvement. Give me a chance, inclusive people. Give me an opportunity to try. Give me a place at the table and an opportunity to be heard. Understand, I want to hear all of you. We are in this together. There is no isolationism in me. I want everybody at the table. I want to attack these problems together. I want to get better together. And I want to help the public schools from the school board down. I want to help them achieve the best they can achieve for students and families in Spotsylvania County.